How can this be? She exclaims, her painted red lips parted in disbelief. This is the engagement gift, given to me by the Chen family. Miss Wang finishes, completely unaware of the stolen nature of her jewelry. Huo Long, her profile still obscured by the sheer white veil, remains perfectly calm and collected as she addresses the confused bride. May I ask, Miss Wang, she inquires smoothly, is the character Long engraved on the back of this jade pendant? The focus shifts to the delicate pink lotus pendant dangling against the bride's crimson dress. Naively, Miss Wang confirms the damning detail. Yes, Madame Chen said it was specially carved for me, she answers. Madame Chen, still trying to maintain her haughty facade, peers over her fan with a smug, arrogant glare. Thinking she has outsmarted the young girl, her inner thoughts reveal her vanity. Praise my clever and insightful mind. How would you know? Madame Chen demands aloud, attempting to challenge Hua Long's bold claims. Unfazed, Hua Long delivers the crushing history of the token. This jade pendant was carved from a rare piece of Mushan purple jade cut in two, and it was part of my mother's dowry, she reveals. Huo Long lifts her hand, revealing a matching piece of the intricate pink jade. Staring directly through her veil, she explains the significance of the engraving. Long is my maiden name, she declares. She holds the matching pendant up for all to see. The other jade pendant, engraved with the character An, is in my hand. Huo Long states, completely dismantling the Chen family's web of lies. She then turns her sharp focus back to the older woman. Madame Chen, she begins, how would you explain this? Hua Long demands. The smug arrogance completely vanishes from Madame Chen's face, replaced by pure, stuttering panic as she nervously bites her finger. Beside her, Master Chen is visibly sweating, using his green sleeve to frantically wipe his brow as he stammers, this, knowing she has them cornered in front of all their esteemed guests. Huo Long escalates the threat. I'm going to ask the authorities, she threatens, her veiled figure standing resolute against the backdrop of the red wedding ribbons. What crime would one be charged with for seizing another person's property? She asks, ensuring the threat of legal action hangs heavily in the air. The crowd of wealthy guests immediately turns on the disgraced hosts. Women in the audience begin to gossip viciously about the scandal. Good heavens! How could they steal someone's engagement token and refuse to return it? How shameless, one guest exclaims in outrage. Another whispers sympathetically, Miss Zhao is so pitiful. The whispers spread like wildfire through the hall. Madame Chen is actually this kind of person, a guest remarks, forever ruining the family's reputation. Meanwhile, the groom, Chen Yi An, looks on silently, his handsome face etched with a mix of surprise and complicated realization as the grand wedding he anticipated crumbles before his very eyes. The groom, Chen Yian, finally breaks his silence. Dressed in his vibrant red wedding robes, he turns toward his mother with a questioning, uncertain look. Mother? He asks, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. Is what she said true? A close-up of Madame Chen reveals her completely crumbling composure. Her eyes are wide and bloodshot with panic, and a thick bead of sweat rolls down her pale face as she struggles to formulate a lie under the crushing weight of public scrutiny. Unable to deny the blatant theft, Madame Chen desperately pivots, attempting to justify her betrayal by viciously attacking the victim's character. She throws her hands up dramatically in the middle of the decorated hall, her face contorted in an exaggerated expression of disgust. Mrs. Zhao said she had a festering disease that left her covered in sores and her face pockmarked. She shouts defensively to the crowd. She gestures proudly, trying to elicit sympathy by adding, "How could anyone be worthy of my son?" But her pathetic excuse only fuels the crowd's righteous anger. A voice rings out in sharp reprimand, pointing out the obvious flaw in her greedy logic. Then you should return the engagement gifts and marry someone else, openly voicing the collective disgust of the wedding guests. How could you take someone's jade pendant and not return it? That's outrageous. Shameful. Mr. Chen scolds loudly. The murmurs intensify as the true value of the stolen item is recognized by the wealthy onlookers. That's a priceless piece of Twilight Mountain purple jade, someone whispers, magnifying Madame Chen's humiliation. Thoroughly humiliated and backed into an inescapable corner, Madame Chen snaps. She lunges forward and aggressively snatches the precious token right off the waist of her bewildered new daughter-in-law. Daughter-in-law, she barks hastily, trying to salvage whatever tiny scrap of dignity she has left. I'll send you something better. We don't need this one. With a frustrated, furious motion, she tosses the lotus pendant back to its rightful owner. Here's your jade pendant back, Madame Chen declares angrily. This engagement is being cancelled today. Through the sheer fabric of her bamboo hat's veil, Hua Long remains as cold and immovable as ice. She doesn't flinch, instead letting the heavy, suffocating silence stretch across the hall. "Madam Chen," she begins, her voice slicing effortlessly through the tension. She exposes the sheer audacity of the Chen family's arrogant dismissal. "Return the token and then declared the engagement off," she summarizes smoothly. With a chilling, commanding presence that echoes the absolute authority of her past life as the Empire's most feared woman, she issues a final terrifying challenge. "Am I, the daughter of the Zhao family, an object that can be discarded at will?" she demands, ensuring the Chen family will not escape this reckoning on their own terms. The tension in the lavish hall reaches a boiling point. Desperate to maintain control, Madame Chen snaps angrily, glaring at the veiled girl. "What else do you want?" the matriarch demands. Hua Long stands her ground, perfectly composed beneath her sheer bamboo hat, and begins to expose the deep, buried history between their two families. "You were taken in by my mother," she starts, her voice carrying clearly across the silent room. "When you were down on your luck," she finishes, the words striking a visible nerve. Madame Chen's eyes dart away nervously, a bead of sweat forming on her face as the shameful past she tried to bury is dragged into the light. Hua Long's voice echoes with righteous indignation. "During childbirth, your life hung by a thread. It was my pregnant mother who took care of you day and night to ensure your safety." She reveals the true, sacred foundation of the broken promise. "This is how your lives, mother and child, were saved, and that's why the two families arranged the marriage." Hearing this undeniable truth, the groom Chen Yian looks utterly shattered. His eyes are wide and filled with sad realization at the absolute depth of his own family's betrayal. A close-up of Hua Long's striking profile through the veil highlights her unwavering resolve. Madame Chen wanted to break off the engagement, she states coldly. "Should we repay this favor?" Refusing to accept the massive debt she owes, Madame Chen fiercely interrupts. "This was your mother's own choice," she screams defensively, completely abandoning her refined facade. "How dare you take advantage of my kindness?" Madame Chen aggressively points a finger at the young woman, trying to somehow regain control of the narrative, but Hua Long delivers the most devastating blow yet. "This incident left my mother with a chronic illness," she reveals to the horrified crowd. "Later, she became seriously ill due to the depletion of her health, and no medicine could cure her." Stepping closer, her sheer presence dominating the room, Hua Long looks down at the older woman. Madame Chen shrinks back, her face pale with fear. "So, Madame Chen, you owe my mother a life," Hua Long declares fiercely. In a panic, Madame Chen reaches out, her hand tightly gripping Hua Long's sleeve in a desperate hold. "Mrs. Chen, how do you plan to settle this score?" Hua Long demands, her piercing gaze locked onto the trembling matriarch. Pushed to the absolute brink and sweating profusely, Madame Chen screams wildly in a pathetic attempt to deflect the monumental guilt. "What are you calculating?" she shrieks, her face twisted in utter panic. "I think you just don't want to break off the engagement." Madame Chen refuses to back down. Desperate to justify her blatant betrayal, she continues her vicious tirade against the veiled girl, doubling down on the stepmother's lies. "She's sick and can't get married, so she's trying to cling to my family," she screams defensively, her face contorted with malicious outrage. She gestures aggressively toward Hua Long, demanding the ultimate proof of the girl's supposed disfigurement. "Let me show you. Look at you covered in sores and calluses." Madame Chen shouts to the murmuring crowd. She attempts to validate her cruel choice to cancel the wedding, asking, "How could she possibly marry my son?" But Hua Long has heard enough of the slander. Slowly and elegantly, her slender fingers reach up to grab the edge of the sheer white fabric. With a sweeping motion, she lifts the veil of her bamboo hat. As the fabric pulls back, the entire grand hall falls into a stunned, breathless silence. Instead of a festering, pockmarked face, a breathtakingly beautiful young woman is revealed to the crowd. Her skin is flawless, adorned with delicate, dangling pearl hairpins and striking red makeup, her gaze remarkably calm and piercing. A male guest in the crowd gasps aloud in recognition. "You really are Miss Zhao." The groom, Chen Yian, stares in absolute shock at his beautiful, rightful fiancée. "Mother," he exclaims, completely dismantling his mother's excuse as the current bride watches nervously from behind her fan. Miss Zhao is still alive and well. Madame Chen is utterly paralyzed. A heavy bead of sweat rolls down her chin as her jaw drops in horrified disbelief. "Where is your sore?" she stammers pathetically, unable to process the flawless face before her. "Where are your pockmarks?" Standing tall with her veil pushed aside, Huo Long looks down at the terrified matriarch with an aura of absolute, intimidating authority. "How?" she asks smoothly, her voice dripping with lethal grace. Was Mrs. Chen disappointed to see that I was unharmed? Caught in a web of her own making and exposed in front of her esteemed guests, Madame Chen immediately tries to backtrack and shift the blame. "I was also deceived by your stepmother," she cries out defensively, looking utterly panicked. "I only cancelled because I was confused. If I'd known you'd be all right." But Huo Long immediately cuts off her pathetic, groveling excuses. "Even if today I am covered in sores and my face is pockmarked," Huo Long declares, her commanding presence leaving no room for argument. She turns her sharp gaze to include the silent, cowardly Master Chen, standing awkwardly beside his disgraced wife. With her hand elegantly poised, she delivers her final, crushing verdict to the treacherous household. "It's not up to ungrateful people like the Chen family to break off my engagement," she states firmly. The cowardly Master Chen finally breaks his silence. Sweating profusely and looking thoroughly embarrassed, he attempts to reason with the fierce girl. "Miss Zhao, although my Chen family was in the wrong in this matter," he stammers nervously. Trying to salvage his ruined event, he complains, "But you have disrupted my joyous occasion at the Chen residence today." He then desperately asks, "What kind of outcome do you ultimately want?" Huo Long stands tall, looking down at the disgraced family. "I want the Chen family to issue a proclamation to the world," she demands with absolute authority. With her veil completely pulled back, she fiercely condemns them. "You have betrayed my mother by taking advantage of her early death," she declares, her eyes flashing with righteous anger. She adds the final nail in the coffin regarding her ex-fiancé's character. "Chen Yian has betrayed her and married another. He is not someone to be trusted." Holding the exquisite pink jade lotus pendant up high for all the wealthy guests to see, Huo Long takes complete control of her fate. "Today is my day," she announces powerfully. "We must annul the marriage proposal from your Chen family." The sheer humiliation of being publicly dumped by a woman is too much for Madame Chen. Her face contorts in absolute panic. "This won't do. Being dumped by the woman would damage my reputation," she screeches. Driven mad by the thought of social ruin, Madame Chen frantically tries to bargain. "My son wants to take the imperial examinations and become an official. My reputation can't be ruined," she yells defensively. In a stunning display of audacity, the matriarch proposes a shameless compromise. "No way. This marriage cannot be called off," she shouts. "My son will marry you into the household and make you his honored concubine. You can't just cancel the wedding." "Fine, you can still marry into the family, but only as my son's concubine." Madame Chen's selfish proposal leaves Huo Long utterly appalled. She resolves to deal with this treacherous family without a single ounce of mercy. Tears silently stream down the cheeks of Chen Yan's new bride as she realizes that absolutely no one in this family cares about her well-being. "What you're doing is an insult to me. It will make me the laughingstock of everyone," she shrieks. Desperate to save her reputation and prevent the engagement from being publicly annulled, Madame Chen lunges forward to snatch the pendant back. A physical struggle ensues, but Huo Long firmly shoves her away, sending the older woman tumbling to the ground. Looking down at Madame Chen's pathetic and deeply humiliating state, Huo Long coldly declares, "Madame Chen has clearly gone mad." Huo Long's expression reveals an absolute, icy resolve. Her beautiful, clear eyes show no mercy for the disgraced family. "How dare they presume I would repay evil with good?" she thinks to herself, her inner voice dripping with disdain. Realizing the situation is completely out of hand, Master Chen quickly orders the servants to drag his wife inside before her hysterics can bring even more shame to the family. "Quickly, take the madam away," he barks. "Prevent her from spouting nonsense here." A servant quickly bows, replying obediently, "Yes, master." Stepping in to do damage control, Master Chen takes it upon himself to negotiate with Huo Long. He lays bare his ultimate selfish fear. "Miss Zhao, publicizing this to the world would be too damaging to our reputation." Desperate to silence her and sweep the scandal under the rug, he offers a shameless bribe. "How about this? I am willing to compensate you with money. Just name your price." Just as the tension in the room reaches its peak, a sudden, crisp laugh cuts through the heavy atmosphere of the grand hall. A breathtaking figure steps into the light. It is the mysterious young master, Pei Jiasheng. He is an elegant, exceptionally handsome young man with long, flowing silver-white hair adorned with a red hairpiece. Dressed in rich crimson and dark-patterned robes, he calmly holds a folded black fan against his chest, a dangerously knowing, effortless smile playing on his lips. Both Master Chen and Huo Long turn their heads in surprise to look at the newcomer. "What are you laughing at, young Master Pei?" Master Chen demands nervously, looking bewildered and slightly irritated by the interruption. Pei Jiasheng doesn't hold back. His piercing, light-colored eyes gleam with amusement as he casually highlights the sheer absurdity of the Chen family's bribe. His voice is smooth, yet it strikes like a polished blade, a human life, a marriage agreement. You actually think you can use money to make a deal? He mocks, leaving the heavy implication of their immeasurable value hanging in the air. I laugh at the hypocrisy of the Chen family. Are you perhaps trying to trick Miss Zhao into taking your money, just so she can be accused of extortion later? He scoffs openly, fanning himself with lazy elegance. The crowd erupts into a flurry of frantic whispers. The wealthy guests immediately turn on their disgraced hosts, their voices vicious and loud. Miss Zhao seems to have backbone. She clearly wants an explanation, so why would she be greedy for money? One woman mutters. Another guest chimes in, looking at Master Chen with utter disgust. Do you think you can just treat them like beggars and pay them off? Thank you, young master, and all the guests for speaking up for me, she says demurely. A dramatic pause hangs heavily in the air. But, she continues smoothly, since Mr. Chen is willing to compensate me, why should I refuse? Pei Jiasheng's confident, charming smile freezes. He stares at her, genuinely disappointed. I was just trying to be helpful. How could she be so greedy for money? Frustrated, he turns his back and snaps his fan shut with a sharp clack. Tisk, never mind, I shouldn't have meddled. Master Chen takes the bait hook, line and sinker. Believing he has effortlessly won, he puffs out his chest, his wealthy facade returning. As long as Miss Zhao is willing to resolve this with money, everything is negotiable. He sneers softly. The crowd groans, completely disillusioned by the young woman. After all this trouble, it really was just about wanting money. Someone mocks from the back. Greedy for money? Hua Long chuckles darkly to herself. Young master, you're mistaken. Why should I be the perfect victim when the Chen family was in the wrong first? She lifts her chin, her voice suddenly dropping its demure tone, echoing instead with the crushing, undeniable authority of an empire's most feared woman. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint Mr. Chen, Hua Long declares, her sharp words slicing right through the patriarch's smug illusion of victory. She delivers the ultimate devastating checkmate for all to hear. I can afford your money, but money is not what I seek.